Hey there. Today we're going to take a little bit of a zoom out to look at where we are at with the unfolding planetary energies, where we've been, a little bit of what is coming ahead, what to expect, and kind of how to orient and see ourselves in the context of these bigger planetary cycles, what is changing, and how we can be most effective in working with these energies. I'm Marina Orms here with your astro perspective for Sunday, March 22nd. So we've been through a lot. We have just come through eclipse season with very potent solar eclipse on February 17th. That was just 3 days before the exact Saturn Neptune conjunction, activating a extremely rare outer planet alignment that in fact we haven't seen in over 6,000 years. It depends on what factors you include, maybe even over 30,000 years. So big picture, new beginnings unfolding here. So that solar eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th came in that week of change with all that Aquarian energy, and then that followed a lot of Capricorn energy. So we've been through this sort of moving through these different highlights of the zodiac as the sun and the inner planets tend to move together. And because Mars has been there with them, we've also had that Mars energy. So Mars, Venus, Mercury, Sun, all going together through Capricorn and then Aquarius, then Pisces. And now they're in the process of shifting into Aries. So looking back at that solar eclipse on February 17th, that was in late Aquarius, and that was aligning around the same time that Saturn Neptune conjunction really became and is the central turning point, which there are many turning points and many cycles involved in all of this, many energies of the planets and many cycles involved, all unfolding at the same time, some of them at different phases of their cycles. But this one, this Saturn Neptune energy, so rare for them to have their conjunction joining together at 0 degrees Aries. So the importance of 0 degrees Aries for new beginnings, it really is that lens that we see birth through. So what happens before birth and what happens after birth, right? Like they are both very potent energies, but very different feeling. So when both Saturn and Neptune were doing their dance last year, they went into Aries, both went into Aries and then retrograded back into Pisces. So we've been sort of doing this dance in the, new beginnings, but let's go back and make sure we're really getting this right. Let's do our homework of connecting with what is really true and right and important and meaningful, what matters in that bigger picture, what we want to embody as we step forward into new beginnings. And so we have the metaphor of birth in so many different ways. And of course, it's not like, one day everything is different. But we really are at the beginning of, Neptune and Saturn have a 35, 36-year cycle where they move from conjunction to opposition and back to conjunction again. And in that cycle, we have the unfolding energy of Saturn, which is form, structure, building new things, what it is we want to create and take shape. what we want to nourish so it can grow and thrive and become something strong and resilient and structurally sound with a strong foundation and a strong structure to hold what we want to become. So you need, as you create something new, you have to have the imagination, the idea of it, but you also have to have the very clear structural, like, how are we going to do this? What is it going to take? What is involved in what we want to create? And what does it look like? And, we may have differing opinions about what we want to create and what's the best way to go about it and all of that, but that's all part of this process. So Saturn is about how we create the structure. And as it joins Neptune in its exact conjunction at 0 degrees Aries, the new beginning point, we have the imprint of Neptune, that Neptunian energy that really connects to a much, much bigger picture, a transcendent picture of, if we get beyond the here and now, if we get beyond the problems of our day-to-day lives and really think big picture, what do we want to create? What do we actually want it to look like? Not just, how do we want to keep dog paddling, but how do we want to make some real progress toward the things we actually want to see happen? And so, we kind of have reached that point in what's happening in the world, where we're realizing that the dog paddling isn't going to work anymore, right? Like, maybe for a while it was like, okay, as long as I can sort of believe that I can keep going, or that things will get better, or that there's a system that, at least if I understand how it works, I can work with that system. And even though it's not ideal and there are a lot of problems with it, I know that I have a reasonable expectation that if I work within that system, that I can accomplish the things that are possible within that system. So what's happening is that we're seeing that we can't do that anymore, right? The systems aren't even going to allow us to sort of work within them. And the systems have become so old and so rigid and so brittle that they don't have that deeper foundation and strength and resilience and flexibility that really healthy, strong Saturnian energy has. So how are we going to build that going forward is the big question here. And the imprint of Saturn joining with Neptune means that Saturn is getting its imprint from Neptune, the dream, the imagination, the bigger picture of what our hearts really want. So it's saying, if we don't keep working within the system that's falling apart, what would that look like? What can we imagine? What would actually be a system and a structure that would feel fair, that would feel reasonable, that would feel supportive and in alignment with our values, that would, things that help us all feel like we belong and like we can work to achieve things that are important to us, and all of those things that are really big picture principles that are, set forth in the Constitution and different things like that. So we can connect with those as a reminder of what our values really are, and what does it mean when we apply those values in functional ways, having moved through a lot of ways of doing it that are not so functional and that are not so good for all people and all beings, and the health of the planet and the health of future generations and all of those things. So this is an opportunity to rebuild or start from scratch, even to build structures that are more fair, that are more in alignment with our values, that do help all of us, feel like we can participate and have the life we want to have and be able to be who we are. So, all of that and more is part of this whole process. And it truly, truly is a new beginning. But it's also saying that Saturnian structure is not going to create itself. It requires effort. It requires hard work. It requires sacrifice. It requires, but believing in this bigger picture of what's important, but also really looking at how each of us can participate in creating the things we want to see. So that's the background, and I'm not even talking here about how that is part of this big triangle with a trine between Uranus and Pluto that is in place between 2024 and 2029. So that's big picture, and Neptune at the apex of that triangle in a sextile to Pluto, and Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. So a trine is 120 degrees. So if you imagine a 360-degree circle and you put your equilateral triangle in that circle, a trine in astrology is one side of that equilateral triangle. So you take that one side, and that is the distance between, in the zodiac wheel, between Uranus and Pluto is a trine, 120 degrees. And then you take Neptune and you put it halfway between those. So it is 60 degrees from Pluto and 60 degrees from Uranus, forming this flattened triangle, if you will, that if you can imagine, if we had the full three-sided equilateral triangle, we put a point in the middle of all the sides, we would have this giant, what we call a grand sextile, or a six-pointed star. So we have 1, 2, 3 points of the six-pointed star. And in July of this year, we will have the fourth point as Jupiter moves into early Leo. And that will be a brief, sort of expansion of this triangle. So that, and having this Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries has not happened since 6,600 and some years ago. I don't have the exact figure in front of me, but long time ago. And even that time, it was not at the apex of this outer planet waxing sextile that we have right now. So this is like a big finger sort of pointing at us, saying this is your moment to really imagine the future, to really work for what you want, to really put in the effort to create something that could be far more than not only what you have experienced before, but maybe even bigger than you can imagine. Bigger, more important, more powerful, more meaningful, more love-filled, more heart-filled, more possibility-filled. So this is a big deal, which is the context of where we're at. Okay, and now we bring it back to sort of what's unfolding now, and March 22nd of 2026. We are in that process where we still have Mars and Mercury both in Pisces, while Venus and the Sun have moved into Aries to join Saturn and Neptune. So right now, the moon is in Taurus. So it's moon moved through Aries, and it goes around fairly quickly. But right now we have Saturn, Neptune, and Venus and the Sun all in Aries. So lots of Aries energy. Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in the watery sign of Pisces. And when you take fire and passion like Mars that says, go. I don't, want to be held back. I don't even try to stop me. Mars, that warrior planet, and you put it in the water, right? It's wet. And, and so how is it going to move, right? It's slowed down, but it's also given an opportunity to really, choose what direction it wants to move in, to maybe stop going in the direction it was headed and really rethink, like, what is the bigger spiritual picture inviting me to do here? Do I want to stop navigating based on my immediate sense of what I have to do right now because it's so essential and so important that I take this action? If we can expand beyond that to ask or listen or hear, what is that bigger picture really asking of me? And so the actions that we take, in a sense, they're being reevaluated, but it's more than that. It's like the actions and action just means how we move in the world. So our ways of moving, our ways of being, our ways of showing up and moving that reflect, our choices and decisions. Those ways of moving can be guided by something bigger. And when we stop to listen and hear that wisdom that is saying, yeah, but what is really important here, right? Like, I know you just want it now. Mars wants it now. But what is the bigger picture of what is speaking to you that is asking you to let go of how you thought you were going to achieve something or what you thought you needed to do, and open to being infused with a new way of seeing the world, a new perspective, one that is more grounded in this bigger picture of truth and possibility and what your heart really wants. So that's what is happening right now with Mars in Pisces. And on April 9th, Mars goes into Aries. So it crosses that boundary line between before birth and after birth. So it goes through that process of, moving through the late Pisces and surrender and letting go and connecting with the dream and really surrendering old identities, letting go of things that we have been attached to, ways of moving that we have been attached to, and really open to that bigger picture of what is breathing life into us for the next phase of where our lives are going. And then as Mars goes into Aries on April 9th, we're in that action decision making place. It's like, okay, here I am taking these brand new first breaths of my new existence, moving in new directions, stepping into new beginnings, moving forward into territory that is new, that we haven't been through before. And how are we going to do that? And so once Mars goes into Aries, well, first of all, the warrior planet will be in the warrior sign. So now the fire is being accelerated by more fire instead of being drowned in the water. Or maybe that's a little harsh on Mars. It's not being drowned in Pisces. It's being infused, right, with new possibilities. Okay, so, but once it's in Aries, now we have fire being accelerated by fire. And that extra fiery energy, it does have more clarity. It does have a sense of direction about where we're going, where we're heading, what it means, what it looks like, how we're going to do it. It's decisive. It is Mars in Aries is decisive energy. It's the energy of not thinking but doing before thinking, maybe, taking risks, finding courage, working through, or being, having your energy generated through passion, through desire, the desire to get what you want, what's important to you. And so, yes, that can be the energy that is the source of conflict, that is the source of battles, that, it's warrior energy. But it can also be the energy of taking a stand for what matters to you, defending and protecting what you care about, what you cherish, what you love, what you want. And in this case, not only defending and protecting what matters, but defending and protecting something that we haven't even created yet, right? Because we have all of this bigger picture, creative, new energy of these new cycles, this new beginning of something vast and meaningful and significant, that is new and different from, certainly, from anything we know in our lifetimes. So Mars goes into Aries, and then on April 14th, Mercury enters Aries as well. And again, Mars, as the ruler of Aries, is sort of governing the planets that are in Aries. And so once Mars goes into Aries, all those planets in Aries get this fiery energy, to move forward and to start, to stop being held back by anything, and go ahead and move forward with a sense of direction. Now, what direction we're going in is in part determined by how much we are connecting with what is changing inside of us, and that bigger picture of what we are leaving behind, what we are willing to become, what is not coming with us on the journey, right? That willingness to let go also, is part of the process of change that we need to go through to get where we want to go. So, bigger picture here, and really important to stay clear in what matters, what our values are, what our principles are, what is true in the bigger picture. So that will help us be able to discern, oh, this set of information has not been true, or has not been helpful, or is not useful for me to listen to this information source, or this particular narrative, or, we're going to have a lot of that needing to be sorted out once things go into Aries, especially Mercury, which is the planet of information and processing of information and communication and messaging and all of those kinds of things. So Mercury goes into Aries on April 14th. And you'll notice also that once both Mars and Mercury go into Aries, so we've got the planet of action and the planet of information and communication into the warrior sign of Aries, or the sign of willingness to go into the fire to achieve what we want. Both will join first Neptune and then Saturn as they move through early Aries, and activating that Saturn-Neptune energy of the brand new beginning. So some adding of fuel to the fire, and at the same time, more clarity about how to go forward and get what we want. So yes, yes, there is this energy of clarity and decisiveness, of risk-taking, of, these things that do have the energy of being in a battle, of fighting and being part of that warrior spirit, but also the ability to do so with more courage, with more clarity, with the energy of support, of that bigger picture of guidance and wisdom that we've been hopefully listening to and not being deluded by, right? Or not. um we have to wake up from the illusions, and so the process of disillusionment helps us to create the clarity that's going to help us move forward as these planets move into Aries. So you can see this is unfolding throughout the month of April. Again, all planets now direct. So that also means things can move forward in the outside world. Things can move forward. It's kind of this feeling of showtime. It's important to know where you stand, what matters to you, what you care about. And action, action will come. Like, you'll know what you need to do. It's that being clear within yourself about what matters and what's important, and then being willing to take action when action shows up at your door, right? When something shows up in front of you that needs action, you'll know and you'll be able to do it. And that's not to say you should sit around waiting, but it is to say that you can trust yourself. You can trust that you will know what you need to do when you are called upon. And so work on that trust, right? Work on that piece about who am I, what matters to me, what do I care about, what am I willing to sacrifice or take a risk around, right? Just being clear about all that. Like, there's not a right and wrong to it. It's about being clear about that for yourself. And that work of getting that work on the self-trust piece with Saturn in Aries is going to support this whole process. And then we have Uranus going into Gemini on April 25th. So another shift of energy into Uranus, the planet of shakeup and change, in air sign Gemini, of communication and ideas and technology. And so we'll save that for another day. But thank you for being here. And thanks for rolling with me. And I will see you next time. I'm here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care. Bye for now.